Hello, welcome back to the channel. My name is Keith. This is All Things Tenerife and More. Today is the first day of the More part of All Things Tenerife and More. I'm in Dublin. Extremely windy Saturday morning, and I'm going to bring you around through streets of Dublin and let you have a little look and see what you think. Hopefully show you some sights along the way, and we may as well start by turning this thing around. That, believe it or not, is blocks of derelict apartments. Not probably the best way to start a vlog about new beginnings, but it is Dublin. It's part of Dublin. We're in the middle of a housing crisis, and yet we still have these houses that, as you can obviously see, completely boarded up. Right, where are we? We're in the heart of Dublin city, literally smack bang in the middle of a stone's throw away from O'Connell Street, which is the main street that's on the north side of the city. Okay, you have the Malden Hotel here, mid-range hotel. Dublin is full of mid-range hotels. Not all of them at the moment are open to tourism. Some of them are housing refugees and others, so yeah, it's part of what it is. It is what it is. But as I say, sunny day in Dublin, which is not unusual, though people always think it is. As I said, we're smack bang in the middle. We're about to come up to an area called Parnell Square, which houses one of the finest art collections in Europe, and also is the home of the Garden of Remembrance, which I suppose is a good place to start a tour of Dublin City, is the Garden of Remembrance. Now, behind those trees that you can see there in front of you is, speaking of beginnings, is where I began. That's the back of the Rotunda Hospital, which is where I was born in 1967. So it's very much a beginning. And then, like I say, we are coming up to the Hugh Lane Gallery, which is here on the left hand side. If you have a thing for art, it's definitely worth a visit, particularly if you're interested in Francis Bacon. One of the best Francis Bacon exhibitions is inside of there. They actually have his actual studio replicated inside. It's well worth a look, and also well worth knowing that all of the museums and galleries in Ireland are free, so you can wander around, pass some time, and it won't cost you a penny. Now, the Writers' Museum across the way has a restaurant downstairs, which sadly I haven't eaten in yet, but gets fantastic reviews, and it will be expensive. It's the one thing you will learn in the wanderings around Dublin City, is that it's not a cheap city. From a accommodation point of view, you will be lucky to find somewhere in and around 100 euros for I would say a poor quality sort of B&B in not the great area, so I wouldn't be recommending some of that end of the lower end of the budget. But there's plenty of them, with the exception of one, which I'll tell you about in another vlog. So where we are now is the Garden of Remembrance, which is smack bang in the middle of the city, and it was built to remember those who died in war, not specifically sort of Irish war, but those who died, the Irish who died in wars. It's a beautiful place to visit, and at the end of it you can see a statue of the Children of Lear. Children of Lear is an old Irish legend. It's your classic father marries evil stepmother story, who turns the children into swans, and they can come to life back to human form under the moonlight, under the full moon. Beautiful story, and if you like Irish or you're interested in Irish legends, and it's definitely worth looking at. The Children of Lear. That statue is particularly beautiful, and Dublin is full of fabulous statues, so full of tourists, which is the lifeblood of this city. If it wasn't for tourism, this city wouldn't have anything.
The post office.
As you can hear from the accents, a group of French lads and a bunch of English lads over. It is kind of the stag and hen capital of Europe. Was for many, many years. I drove a taxi through Dublin for years. I spent 10 or 12 years driving a taxi in the city. So, yeah, as I said, it's the hen and stag capital of Europe. Or it certainly was back in the day. Now, it's particularly breezy today, so not that my microphone's going to get a good test today. Now we're coming up on the Gate Theatre. As I say, that's the Rotunda Hospital, the back of the Rotunda Hospital, as I said, where I was born. Smack bang in the middle of Dublin City. So, hotels across the way. We have, let me think, we have the St. George, we have Cassidy's. Not a bad little place. Again, it's a guest house more so than a hotel. I would class it as, although it is classed as a hotel. But it's cheap and cheerful by Irish standards or by Dublin standards. But food is quite good in it. As I say, there's not a hotel in the city I haven't been in from the point of view of driving people around when I drove a taxi. So it always got good reviews. Whenever I had people in it, they were quite happy with what they got. Food-wise, probably run about, or room rate probably run about €150 a night, depending. And the other thing to remember in Dublin, when you're booking a hotel, the season will dictate the price. So, depending on the time of year, depending on events, I mean, you've so much to take into when you're booking in Dublin. You have to look at sporting events for the weekend. So, is there Gaelic football on, which is a traditional Irish game? Is there rugby playing? Because that will affect the price of the accommodation. Concerts, again, will affect the price of accommodation. There are so many elements to the price of tickets and rooms in Dublin. So this is O'Connell Street, the heart of the north side of the city. At the moment it's 5 to 12 on a Saturday morning. I think we have some sort of protest on the left hand side, but I'm not 100% sure. Maybe not. That is the Gresham Hotel. Absolutely beautiful hotel. Probably one of the best hotels on the north side of the city. I'm not quite sure. I think they're celebrating. I don't think they're protesting. Those people across the way. Famous, it was in Michael Collins, the movie. There's quite a few films over the years. Beautiful hotel. Would I stay in it? Would I recommend you stay in it? Yeah, I suppose this side of the city has a bad name for itself, always has had a bad name for itself. Dublin is divided, like the whole of Ireland, into north and south. So, north and south of Ireland, north and south of Dublin. We're on the north side. This is the Lewis. Lewis is our tram system that runs both across north and south side. Quite a reasonable way of getting around the city. So yeah, back to north and south. So this is the north side. Honestly, it's a bit like anywhere in the world. Depending on what time of day you wander around will depend on whether or not I recommend you're here. 3-4 o'clock in the morning, would I recommend you walk down here on your own? No, I wouldn't. But it's a busy city. It's a metropolitan city full of fantastic restaurants. Not Burger King, but Beshop's. If you want your traditional Irish fish and chips, Beshop's is one. There's two famous chippers in Dublin. You have Beshop's and you have Leo Burdock's. Personally, Leo's is the one for me. If you want traditional fish and chips. Would I call it a traditional Irish dish? No, but it is traditional. Now, we're coming up on the spire. Spire is a silver structure that you can see in front. I'll give you a proper look at it now in a second. There you go. That's the spire, built on the site where Nelson's Pillar used to stand before the IRA blew it up in 1966, the 50th anniversary of the 1916 Rising. So that was built for the millennium. Cost an obscene amount of money. It's one of those, it's the Marmite of all the statues and monuments in the city. You either love it or you hate it. Personally, never got it. It's a very expensive lamppost. But it is certainly somewhere. It's the tallest monument in Europe that you can't ascend. Not the tallest monument, but the tallest monument that you can't go up. So, for that reason, that's about the only thing it's famous for. This, as you see, with passing us now, is actually a vintage tea trip. You can have afternoon tea on this. They serve you afternoon tea while you drive around the city of Dublin. It's a fantastic, it's probably one of the few afternoon teas I haven't tried in the city, and it's one of my indulgences. Myself and my partner love afternoon tea, particularly in some of the most beautiful hotels in the city. They do fantastic afternoon teas. This is the GPO, General Post Office, famous for so many things. This almost completely destroyed in 1916, during the 1916 Rising. In fact, the British garrison sat over here and they bombed across. The only thing that was left was the facade. The inside of it was completely gutted, and in fact some of it's been repaired, and some of it you can see there are bullet holes still in it from 1920, from the Civil War in the 1920s. But it's a beautiful building, and if I'm not mistaken, there is a museum in there to commemorate the 1916 Rising. The majority of this street was destroyed during the 1916 Rising. Now, the thing about politics in Ireland, and the thing about my channel in politics, is I don't do either of them. What I tell you about history of Dublin, or history of Ireland for that matter, is intrinsically tied to the Troubles, to the conflict between Britain and Ireland, we can start with the Vikings and the Irish. I mean, we've been occupied several times. It's not just the British. We've been occupied by several people. But I suppose the history of Ireland is attached to all of that. So, in order for me to talk you through and walk you through this city, I have to give you those things, that information. My political views are non-existent in that regard. I'm an Irishman, I'm a nationalist, I love my country, and what happened during those periods happened. So I'm not pointing fingers, or I'm not saying anything derogatory against English. My best friends are British, and that's not what this is about. This is purely about the history of this city. Now, as you can see, Dublin in the sun shining, there's nothing quite like it. Grand Central Bar, great bar, really good food, not madly or wildly expensive. Jaywalking doesn't exist in this city, so if it's safe enough to cross the road, cross the road. The only people you see standing at crossings in this country, generally speaking, are tourists. Supermacs, Ireland's answer to McDonald's. And this at the end, statue of Daniel O'Connell. The four statues represent Ulster, Munster, Leinster and Connacht, the four provinces of Ireland. And if you look, I'm not sure whether I can get to see close enough, there are still bullet holes in these statues from 1916. And whether you can spot any on that one there. And now, come to O'Connell Bridge. Again, iconic bridge. The only bridge, I'm going to say in Ireland, I could say in Europe, but I'm not 100% sure, where it's the only bridge in Europe that's actually wider than it is long. So the expanse from there to there is longer than it is wide. So this is O'Connell Bridge. This is the end of the north side of Dublin City. So if you can, I'm hoping you can hear this. It's extremely windy here because we're open. That bridge up ahead is the Halfpenny Bridge. It's kind of the symbol of Dublin City. You used to have to charge a halfpenny to cross over the bridge. That's where it gets its name from. It is one way of getting into Temple Bar. So if you go from this side across, north to south, go through the arcade. I'll bring you over. I'm going to do a vlog in Temple Bar later on. But if you're up here on the north side of the city and you're staying on this side, this is O'Connell Street. You've got the quay all along here. You have the Abbey Court Hotel just over here. Again, really great hotel. They do an Irish dancing show 5-6 nights a week where you have a meal and Irish dancing, about 30-40 euros. Really good value, and they're river dance dancers. So if that's what you're looking for, you're in Dublin City and you're looking for a little bit of culture that isn't just drink related, that's certainly the place to go. So if you follow across that bridge, there's an archway that brings you straight into Temple Bar. From here, if you walk straight up, that building you see, the grey building with the pillars outside, that's Trinity College. Again, we'll do another vlog up there later on. So for now, I'm going to leave you here. So this is the first taste of the and more part of Tenerife, all things Tenerife and more. I hope you've enjoyed it. I hope this microphone hasn't let me down. It's a little bit cooler than it is in Tenerife. It's a little bit windier, but this is Dublin, this is my city. And I hope you enjoyed it. So I'll talk to you soon and see you in the next one. Take care.